Welcome to Political News and Views with Congressman Ed Towns of Brooklyn, New York, representing the 10th Congressional District, programming with your concerns in mind. And now, your host, Congressman Ed Towns.
Welcome to News and Views. I'm delighted today. We have with us Dennis Kucinich of Cleveland, Ohio. Congressman Kucinich, who was a candidate for president, of course, and former mayor of Cleveland, plus the fact that he is just a person that everywhere he goes, he just makes a difference in a positive kind of way. I want to thank you for being on News and Views.
Chairman Towns, it's such a pleasure to be on your show and to have had a chance to visit with you in your district. I'm very grateful, not just to be on this show, but to be a part of the work that you do as chairman of the Government Oversight and Reform Committee. So thank you for the invitation to be here, and I look forward to our discussion.
Right, no question about it. I want you to know that I watched the reception that you received in Brooklyn. I was telling people, I know him. I'm with him, you know what I mean, because, people just responded to you. Let me begin by talking about the hearing that we held in Brooklyn. In your opening remarks at the field hearing in Brooklyn, you asked some very important questions. And first of all, you said, are we going to see a turnaround? I think you mentioned the fact that we had there the person in the city of New York who is handling the stimulus package for the mayor. And, of course, we had the person that's handling it for the governor. And, of course, you raised the question in terms of, what are you doing with the money? What do you expect in terms of a turnaround, especially for New York City and for the state of New York? I thought that was a very interesting question. I mean, what prompted you to sort of raise that question with them?
Well, I grew up in Cleveland, the oldest of seven. My folks never owned a home, and we kept moving. By the time I was 17, we lived in 21 different places, including a couple cars. I lived in a lot of inner city areas where people are having trouble making ends meet, where it makes a difference if there's repairs to streets, to bridges, in terms of quality of life, where if money goes in for housing or for health care or education, everything like that matters tremendously for people who are just trying to make it. And I know that in Brooklyn, as well as in Cleveland, there are many people in these tough economic times for whom the stimulus money and the stimulus investment will mean a lot. I just wanted to make sure, in asking that question, that there is an articulation of the programs getting through to the people that need the help. And also, I expressed a concern that there are many minority businessmen, and specifically like in Cleveland. We have many what they call, there's a black contractors organization who wants to make sure that with all these billions of dollars being spent, that they're not going to be cut out of a chance to be able to participate in some fair and meaningful way. So I was so glad to have a chance to come to Brooklyn, because there's a lot about Brooklyn that reminds me of Cleveland. And I felt that it was important to ask the question.
Right. Let me ask you, do you think that having these kind of town hall, they're actually meetings, they're not town hall gatherings, but going out into the community and having these hearings, getting people to sort of talk and have an opportunity to talk to them, do you think that really makes a difference in terms of being able to get things going, or to be able to create the kind of atmosphere and climate to be able to bring about real change?
Oh yes, what I saw in Brooklyn was an involved citizenry. People really care. They care about their neighborhoods. They care about their government. They want to be involved, and they want to make sure that they're listened to. Does it make a difference? It makes all the difference in the world. I mean, you and I are part of a process that begins at those neighborhood meetings. And, well, this was a full committee hearing. We also know that the people who were there come from a neighborhood process, as we both do. And so when people see that you can bring a committee meeting, members of Congress, to bring them right into a neighborhood, that shows the power of the people. It shows respect, certainly, for the constituency in Brooklyn and any neighborhood where we take a committee. And it shows that we want to hear what people have to say, and we want to make sure these programs, where all this money is being spread out, actually are going to work to get money to the people who need the help and get the money into the neighborhoods, right, which need the help.
Yeah, the other thing I thought that came out was the accountability issue. Even the local folks were saying that you're asking us to do something that we might not be in a position to do unless we get additional resources. So as a result of that, we came back to Washington, D.C. and put forth legislation that's going to make it possible for the local folks to get auditors in there, to be able to get the monitors, to be able to get the kind of oversight that they need in order to try and cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse.
If you can imagine, I mean, we both thought about this. The first stimulus money was about $787 billion. $100 billion of that is going for infrastructure. But we just imagine billions of dollars going into states and into communities. We better have people keep an eye on how the money's being spent. These are taxpayers' monies. We want them spent wisely. And more money, more accountability. When you need more accountability, you need more auditors, you need more forensic accountants, you need people who are going to make sure that the taxpayers' dollars are going to be spent wisely and spent the way that Congress intended.
Well, I think the job is really, work is cut out for us. I mean, there's no question we got a big job. And Devaney, who is actually the superstar with all the inspector generals. I mean, everywhere you go, people talk about Devaney and about the fact that he's been an inspector general for the last 30-some years, and he is the person that if it can be done, he can do it. He said to us that $787 billion going out into the community, that $55 billion would go into waste, fraud, and abuse.
That's what he predicted.
That's what he predicted. Now, I think that we have a job to do.
Yeah, we can't, when I heard that, I thought, well, we can't just take that for granted. That's an off-the-cuff assumption that he made based on the fact that there's always going to be a certain percentage of waste, fraud, and abuse. But our job, and of course, not just the obligation, but the faith that's put in you as chairman, is that we're not going to tolerate any waste, fraud, and abuse. And when people know that there's a zero tolerance for it and that we're actively looking, and we'll hold people accountable, then people will have more faith in government. So the whole idea of our committee, the committee that you're the chair of and that I was so happy to vigorously support your chairmanship, the thing about our committee is that it's government oversight, meaning that we watch over the activities of the government, but it's also government reform. So if we see something wrong, we make recommendations about how to make it right. And we're a co-equal branch of government. And so we have to make sure we keep checks and balances. And while we have an administration we can work with, we also know it's a big government. We want to make sure that if we see something that isn't working, we let people know about it.
Well, I think that's the reason why we came back and pushed this legislation.
Absolutely.
Because we observed that something was wrong that needed to be fixed.
And needed more people to watch.
Needed more people to watch the resources that are going out.
Right.
I can't recall ever that $787 billion will just go out into the community like this. I mean, I can't ever recall this ever happening.
You know what? It's never happened. But I'll tell you something that's interesting about that. Even though we put all that money out, because of the need that is out there and because so many people are out of work, there's over 13 million Americans are out of work. You have millions more who are working part-time when they want to work full-time and they can't. You have many people that stop signing up for unemployment because they run out. When you look at that, you know that we have a massive unemployment in this country and people are desperate for jobs. So, number one, at some point, the administration is going to have to create a version of a new WPA where we put millions of people back to work, rebuilding America, and rebuilding our bridges, water systems, sewer systems. Because remember, of the $787 billion, $100 billion, and I could say, it's hard to say only $100 billion, but $100 billion was to rebuild infrastructure around America. The American Society of Civil Engineers says there's almost $2.6 trillion in infrastructure needs that have not been met.
Yeah.
So you think about jobs. Then you think about we're faced with perhaps as many as 8 million people going to lose their homes. We have to find a way to help save people's homes. Well, that's going to require a lot of money, spending. And health care. We've got 50 million people without any health care, another 50 million underinsured. That's going to take resources to try to meet the needs of the people there. Social Security. We need to shore up Social Security. So we have not even begun to develop the resources that are going to be necessary to help people in the neighborhoods of America.